Business owners need to be aware that their businesses are subject to division just like any other asset. Unfortunately, it's more complicated to value those types of assets like businesses as opposed to a house where we can put it up for sale and the sale price can be determined pretty easily, or a car where we can look on the internet for the blue book value. When we're talking about businesses, we're talking about even small businesses that aren't large corporations probably need an expert to come in to value that business. Unfortunately, that can get expensive, but it's absolutely necessary in order to determine separate property interests that aren't subject to division, marital property interests that are subject to division. Sometimes I have clients come to me and ask me, well, what's going to happen with my business? Obviously, there's a marital asset component to it, but is my spouse going to be able to come in and just take over the business? Generally, the spouse is not going to be able to just come in and take over the business, but the business has value. And if that business has value, then it's subject to an equitable division by the court. In any event, you may have to pay your spouse some amount of money in order to equalize that so that they get a fair share of the business that grew during the marriage. So when we're talking about division of a business, it's important not to think of the business just in a vacuum. If you're a business owner here in Colorado, you probably have retirement accounts, bank accounts, a home or multiple homes, cars, those types of assets. When we're talking about an equalization payment to a spouse, we need to determine what's a fair and equitable distribution of that. That doesn't mean you have to chop off a portion of the business and the spouse gets 20% of it. It could be that the spouse gets a higher percentage of, for example, the sale of the marital home in order to equalize that so that you can keep the business and run it in the future as you see fit.